Mic on. Timer off.
AA6DP repeater.
QST, QST, QST. That voice you just heard on the Catalina Repeater means it's 9 a.m. and in just a few moments the adventure continues for another episode of the Catalina Amateur Repeater Association Net at 9. Amateur Radio, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. I'm Tom, Tango Oscar Mike. My call sign is Whiskey 6 Echo Tango Charlie, and I'll be serving as net control this morning. I'll pause briefly for any important or urgent traffic and then continue on with this net. Well, if I haven't said it, I'm saying good morning to everyone. This is the Catalina Amateur Repeater Association, or CARA, Net at 9, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. CARA sponsors and schedules the Net at 9, sponsors the Net at 9 Wellness and Support Net by linking both their 1.25 meter and 2 meter repeaters for all ham radio operators who are listening. So simply put, you're invited to be part of the conversation this morning, anyone that's listening to us on the repeater. This is an informal directed net, which is offered Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and again at 9 p.m. And our net typically runs approximately an hour to an hour and a half. Don't forget, the repeaters are open repeaters and are available for use by any licensed amateur radio operator without costs, provided they comply with FCC rules, follow net control instructions, and operate in a reasonable, courteous, and respectful manner towards each other. CARA does provide a radio club membership in support of its repeaters, although it's not necessary to be a CARA club member to participate in this net. Net at 9 is open to members and non-members alike, and for those individuals who are possibly visiting Southern California area. In some instances, we pick up an operator or two who may be spinning that digital dial. In other words, that digital dial would be Echolink or All-Star. For those who are coming to us through the through the Echolink app, you can connect through us by selecting star Catalina star to connect. And if you're hitting us through All-Star, well, that node number is number 51597. So I'll reset. All right, so in the process of, primarily I will start by doing a check-in process. I'll be requesting your call sign, first name, and location. So please speak slowly and clearly when you give your call sign, and give your call sign phonetically, followed by your first name and location. And so during the check-in process, one of the things I do is I'll be writing down your call sign and your name and your location. So do me and us all a favor. Again, speak slowly and clearly. And if you can, on your call sign, use it phonetically. So I get it down right the first time. It's important. I don't want to embarrass myself by calling you the wrong name or responding back with a wrong call sign. And by the way, slow it down. We have some operators that speak really quick, and it's hard to hear sometimes over the air. Anyway, quit whining, Tom. We go for 2 rounds. First round is where we provide you, our listeners, an opportunity to speak about what's going on in your life. Here we have the midweek, the hump day, so to speak. We want to know what you've been up to, what the rest of your week looks like, how things are going, how you're doing, what's on your mind. This is also a great time to bring in your ham radio related questions. There's no such thing as a dumb ham radio related question. It's an opportunity for us to maybe turn that into a topic for our second round. And that's a little hint what the second round is about. It's about, usually about ham related topics. The check-in process is divided into various operator types and locations. So stand by for instructions from net control, on when and how to check in. On a side note, if you're a new ham or new to this net, please let me know when you check in so all of us can welcome you to this net in a proper manner. It's important that you are left feeling welcome into our Net at 9 family. So, let me make sure I've got everything said thus far in the preamble. There are some of you who may prefer just to listen or be on the side. I would like to encourage you to check in anyway, and just let me know during the check-in process that you be on the side. It's good to know what the size of our audience looks like. It helps me, net control, as well as Kara, to know that the interest is still out there for this net. So I do appreciate everyone's participation, if all possible. So let's get this show on the road. Stand by. If you are a mobile operator out there, if you're someone that has a very short window of time, those two are important. Mobile operators or short window of time, usually mobile operators have a short window of time. Please check in now, call sign first name. Second call out there, short window of time operators and mobile operators, check in now, call sign first name.
Whiskey 6 Tango Oscar November. Tony is mobile in Westminster. I'll be on the side. Thanks for doing the net.
All right, Tony, good to hear from you, Tango Oscar November. Thanks for checking in. All right, operators who are distant stations. Distant station would be anyone outside of LA, outside of Orange County. If you're in any other county other than LA, Orange County, such as San Diego, Ventura, Riverside, we want to talk with you, and we want to hear from you. Call sign, first name, check in now.
Kilo Bravo 6, Oscar Victor Oscar. John in Cedar Pines Park.
Paris.
Alpha Delta 4, Alpha Lima, Doug, Oceanside.
Kilo Mike 6 Sierra Papa Yankee Earl East Hammond.
Morning, gentlemen. Let me tell you what I heard thus far. There was initially doubling going on. I picked out John, KB6 OVO, when we first had this, but I heard someone say Paris. I believe it was Paris. Give me your name. Give me your call sign and name again, please. Operator in Paris, maybe? Call sign, please. All right, I'll try it a different way. Again, I heard John, KB6OVO, Doug, AD4AL, and Earl, KM6SPY. If you tried to check in and you haven't been recognized, please check in now. Call sign first name for operators outside of LA, outside of Orange County.
November 6, Quebec, Alpha Papa, Mark in Grand Terrace.
N6 QAP, Mark, good morning, sir. Good to hear from you. All right, guess what's coming up next? Operators in Orange County and LA. Orange County, LA operators, check in now. Call sign, first name.
Alpha Juliet 6 Foxtrot, AJ6F, John, Huntington Beach.
Alpha Juliet 6 Tango Lima, Steve in San Pedro.
N6MG, Milt, Rolling Heights, in and out.
Kilo 6 Kilo Zulu Romeo, Long Beach.
Whiskey 9, Lima Bravo Charlie, Morgan, Long Beach.
KK6 CXY, Rex.
La Cunada.
All right, I'll report back what I just heard. John, AJ6F. Steve, AJTL. Milt, in and out, N6MG. Good morning, Milt. Hope your day goes well. I heard a Long Beach operator, K6KZR, I believe. Can I get her first name there?
Yes, sir. Good morning. This is Jerry, Kilo Echo 6, Kilo Zulu Romeo, from Irvine, but I'm on temporary duty right now at Veterans Administration Hospital in Long Beach. So this is Jerry. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for allowing me on the net. Appreciate it. KE6KZR.
Hi, Jerry. Good morning. Glad you could join us here this morning. Also in the Long Beach area, I heard Morgan, W9KBL, and Rex out of La Cunada, KK6EXY. Good morning, gentlemen. LA Orange County operators, if I've missed you, this is now a time to check in with your call sign first name. Do so now.
Tango Romeo Charlie Jeff, Huntington Beach.
Kilo 7 Charlie Kilo India Mark out of Newport.
I heard you, Jeff. Good morning, sir. Great to hear from you through Echo Link. And Mark, I'm not sure if I've got your call sign right. You're really scratchy. KK7CKI, do I have that correct?
That's correct.
Great, Mark. Great hearing from you. Any operator anywhere that I haven't yet acknowledged, and if you just tuned in, even late check-ins, please check in now with us. We're about ready to begin the first round for the CARA Net at 9, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. We'd love to talk with you. Call sign, first name.
K6JPW, Jeff in Hermosa Beach.
Jeff, I just heard from you. K6KPW, good morning. And also sitting next to me here, keeping an eye on me and keeping me well supervised. Make sure I don't mess up too bad. KB6TKM, KB6, I just messed up. Don't hit me. KB6TKA Jim, my neighbor here in Tustin. Good morning. We got a great group here this morning already, about 16 of us. And we'll open it up for additional check-ins after we go through the first round here. I want to talk with all of you. We have a few that will be kind of in and out or unavailable, but let's get the program going. This is first round. First round is where you talk about what's on your mind, tell us what's going on. How you doing, everybody? John, KB6OVO, you're up first. How's it going, sir?
Good morning, Tom and the Net. KB6OVO in Cedar Pines Park. It's a beautiful day on the mountain. Going to be a little bit on the chilly side today, but no rain. That comes tomorrow. And I was saying that I wasn't a believer in with the temps dropping low and the snow, but the precipitation will occur during the day when it'll be borderline, 38, 39 degrees. So my weather station may be correct that it's not going to snow. We'll see. 7-3 to the group, KB6OVO.
39 degrees. Well, that's a little chilly, but I just heard from family up in the Michigan area, Tennessee area. They're getting a little bit of a cold snap. This is the time of year. Sounds a little cool up there, John. But, John, you're a cool guy. What can I tell you? Mark, N6QAP. Good morning, sir. How goes?
Good morning, Tom and the Net. I checked in just as you were
starting to get going there, and I think that's Tom. I'd gotten a call from ham radio outlet yesterday, and the guy said, "This is Tom," and it says, "Are you W6ETC?" And he said, "No." I said, "You sound just like Tom." Anyway, so that was a fooler, but he's a real nice guy. But it's a pleasure to hear your voice today, and it's a pleasure to hear OVO. You know, when I first threw in my call sign, I think I was running 80 watts, and I got totally buried. You didn't pick me up until a little bit later, so it was a real pile in there, a real pile up. But anyway, I want to say that I was sleeping in bed, and I got to bed late, and I woke up kind of, I don't know when it was, somewhere between 1 and 2. The place was shaking. I think we had a little bit of a quake here. I had earbuds in my ears, and I'd gone to sleep. But anyway, point is that I woke up at 8:54 this morning. I said, "Yikes, I got to get down there and check in." So that's me. I'm hoping for a good morning. I think it's going to be great. I see sunshine coming in. It says mostly cloudy, but I'm underlining partly cloudy, and it's about 50 degrees. And I better throw it back to you because there's a lot of guys waiting. Hello to all, 73 to all, and I'll be listening, Tom, W6ETC, and hello to John, and anybody else I know, and everybody I know. This is Mark, N6, Quebec, Alpha, Papa, and Grand Terrace. Thanks, John.
Good morning, Mark, and glad you could join us here out of Grand Terrace. Yeah, we're about 59 degrees here. Just popped 60 degrees here in Tustin with the expected high of 65. So it's not quite as cold as it is for some of you out there. But it is great Orange County weather nonetheless. It's going to be a nice day for the keeping on. I haven't heard Marty yet this morning yet. Hopefully Marty will join us here in a little bit. All right, next I have on my list is Doug, 84AL. Hi, Doug. What's going on, and how's things going?
Yeah, good morning, Tom, everybody on the net. This is Doug, 84AL, here in Oceanside, where it's about 56 degrees. It's going up pretty fast. We have clear skies at the moment. The sun is out. And I've already been out for my walk. Had about 8,000 steps total. So it was a pleasant morning out there, not much wind. And, after the sun came out, it warmed me up a little bit. When I started out, it was only about 45 degrees. Quite chilly, but the sun came out and things warmed up pretty fast. So it's looking good out there. Last night I saw the ISS fly over, and there's going to be another one this evening. If you look toward the southwest at about 6:29 p.m., you'll see the ISS flying over from northwest to southeast, northwest to south, I guess, and it'll cross right near the planet Saturn at the maximum elevation of 26 degrees above the horizon to the southwest. You'll see the planet Saturn and then the ISS cross by there. Also tonight, this evening, you'll be able to see Jupiter, planet Jupiter, and the moon close together. Last night, the moon was next to Saturn, and the night before it was right next to Venus. So it's making an interesting pairing 3 nights in a row. So that's pretty cool. I was able to see the ISS last night and the moon next to the planet Saturn. But yeah, tonight the moon will be right next to Jupiter. Should be an interesting sight for those of us who have clear enough skies to the southwest to see it. 84AL, going back to fixing my coffee.
As you mentioned, 26 degrees, I grabbed my iPhone and wanted to figure out which way 26 degrees was. Jim and I sitting here, and the iPhone gives me a compass, kind of gives me an idea of what that, you are probably used to talking about it, thinking about it, but those of us who seldom think about it, what did he say? going to learn something here. Cool. Thanks, Doug. Great to hear from you. Interesting to see what you have in mind for the second round. You're listening to Net at 9, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net on the CARA, or Catalina Amateur Repeaters Association system on 2 meter and 1.25. Your net control operator here this morning is Tom, W6ETC. We're still on our first round. We're about a quarter of the way through. And if you haven't yet checked in, you'll have an opportunity to do so here shortly. Let's get back onto the list. Next, I have Earl out of East Hemet, KM6SPY. Hi, Earl. Good to hear from you. What's going on?
Good morning, Tom and the rest of net, KM6SPY. I've been still working on my tactical pack. It's 90% finished. I have my antenna mounts on the pack. I can put 4 different antennas on there, VHF, UHF, and I have 2 HF antennas that are portable. One goes up 9 feet and the other one goes up 14. And I've got 5 ways to charge the batteries. The last one obviously is Edison. The other ones are car batteries, solar panels. So in an event, hopefully I'll be ready. KM6SPY, back to net.
That sounds the way to do it. You want to be as flexible as you can when you're building something like that for power. Hey, without power, without a means of recharging the system, it don't operate. Really? Yeah, Jim looked at me like, really? Yeah. That can be an issue. Also, redundancy is also a consideration. Obviously, you can't carry 2 packs, but components or having primary parts sometimes might be helpful. One of the things that I did pick up a few years back is a soldering iron that is powered by propane. I don't have to worry about electricity. It's in my kit of tools for potential on-the-site repairs, emergency repairs, and it works fairly well. So make sure you have, if you're really thinking in terms of having that type of components, you want to have a few spare parts, primary parts. What they are, who knows? Maybe bubble gum. Could be. Thanks, Earl. John, AJ6F, Huntington Beach. How goes it this morning?
Good morning, Tom and the net. Blue skies. I got my hoodie on. I'm almost too hot. Beautiful day out, and I know it's only supposed to be about 64, but it sure feels warm in the sun. ISS, Doug, I always appreciate your giving us a heads up. I tried to find it last night. Unfortunately, we had cloud cover about the time that I was looking and was unable to see it. So I'll try it again tonight. Tom, the 26 degrees, I believe, is the elevation, not the compass setting. There is an app for your phone called, I think it's ISS Spotter. Just type in ISS on the Apple Store, and it'll pop up. And it's got a little radar thing that allows you to actually move your phone, and both the tilt of it and, of course, the compass setting, and it'll actually show you exactly where it's at the moment and how to see it. I mean, in terms of both the elevation and the compass setting. So you just move it left, right, and up, kind of, tilt it up, down, and there's a little icon that is on the screen and a little bubble. And when those two align, you just follow where your phone is pointing, you will see it. AJ6F, back to Tom and the net.
Well, okay, that just shows my ignorance. Elevation. Okay. I appreciate that. I never think about those factors, and I just learned something new. I'm looking at ISS Spotter on my app phone. Now I have to remember my app ID. I got to look that one up. And I'll get it on my phone and give it a try. Thanks, John. Appreciate the update. Interesting. Great conversation, I think, thus far. Don't you guys think? Steve, AJTL, San Pedro. What's going on today? How's it going?
Well, thank you, Tom, for hosting the net, and things are going pretty good for me right now. just saw a couple of parrots fly overhead, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Obviously, those aren't native to around here, so it's probably someone's pet zipping around. Anyways, see, today the big plan is Christmas decorations. I promised my wife I'd help out in getting the Christmas decorations together, and so that's what I have planned for today. Actually, I'd much rather be digging a hole in my backyard, making a footing for a telescopic mast that I want to put up, but I'll just go ahead and put that off for a few more days and work on the Christmas decorations today, give a little balance to my life, and can't think of anything else. I do have a quick ham radio related question. It's QSL cards, paper cards in particular, if anybody still uses them, or is that still a thing? I have an account with Logbook on the World and a few other places, but just wondering if people still use those paper QSL cards anymore. Anyways, that's about it. AJ6 Tango Lima.
All right, Steve, that's a great question here this morning. Pause briefly, hopefully for the short answer. Any operator care to respond to Steve's question about do we still use QSL cards? I'll stand by. ID, please.
M6MG, yes. KK6M, check in.
I heard Milt and 6MG with a definite yes on QSL cards, and David, KK6M. David, good morning. Glad to hear from you this morning. Would you want to respond to Steve's question, do they still use QSL cards?
Well, since Milt is my mentor, I'll just say yes. Back to you, Tom, KK6M.
Okay, good answer. Thanks, David. And thank you, Milt. Jerry, KE6KZR. KE6KZR. Yep, I got that one. You're currently in Long Beach, veterans. Good to hear from you. Is this your first time with us on the net?
That's affirmative. This is KE6KZR. My location is Irvine, but I have a visit here, temporary, at VA Hospital in Long Beach. So I thought I'd give it a try on 220 band, and sure enough, you're loud and clear.
Jerry, it's so good to hear from you this morning. Welcome to the family here at Net at 9, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. And we're glad you could join us. We have 2 rounds, so if you can, stick with us for the second round. And we've had some, I think, interesting conversations already, and I'm sure you're going to have good input. By the way, if you're new to this net, one of the things that I would ask as net control is when you're done with your comments, would you please then come back with your call sign so I know that you're complete, so I don't step on you or broadcast or not broadcast, but transmit over you. So got to watch that word. All right, thanks, Jerry. Morgan, W9KBL. Also, are you new with the net? Good morning, sir. What's going on?
Good morning to the CARA community and Net Control. That's Whiskey 9 Lima Bravo Charlie, as in Long Beach, California. And yes, indeed, this is my first time checking in on the net. I've been on the side for a while, but just got enough power here on a new Kenwood rig to hit the repeater. I hope all is well. I was turned on to this repeater by my good friend Endoff, which I'm sure you all know, and I have for a time enjoyed the conversation. Probably the best net out there. Whiskey 9, Lima Bravo Charlie.
Morgan, wow, what can I say? I'm glad you could join us here this morning. Welcome to Net at 9. Endoff is an outstanding CARA board member and fine individual. It's kind of cool to see some of the awards he's getting. So glad you could join us, Morgan. Hopefully you'll be able to stick around. We want to hear more from you now and in the future. Rex, KK6, EXY, La Cañada. How goes it, sir? Good morning. KK6, EXY, Rex. All right, let's see if we can get Jeff, KK6TRC. Good morning, brother. How's it going?
Good morning, Tom, and to the rest of the OPs on the net. This is Jeff, KK6 Tango Romeo Charlie in Huntington Beach. One gorgeous morning going on here. We've got clear skies. It feels like a summer morning, in contrast to what we've been having, which has been foggy and wet. So great day for painting. I know I'm always talking about work, but it's my world. And looks like tonight we're going to have a problem seeing that flyby. I've been watching the weather very closely, and in my neck of the woods, about 5 o'clock is when the rain starts this evening, and it should go through till tomorrow sometime. But other than that, excellent day. Just finished up breakfast and had already gone out while I was on Echolink. I was checking on my workers, making sure everything was copacetic there. Very well. Everything's going good. Good to hear everybody on the net. Welcome to the newcomer. And that's about it for me. KK6TRC back to the net.
A couple things you said I'd like to respond to. One, you used the word copacetic. That's almost as big a word as fertilizer. I thought it was pretty good. But not quite as big a word as precipitation. Try to say that sometimes quickly 5 times. And you mentioned, the OPs out there. Wasn't there a character on the Andy Griffith show called Opie? Well, we're actually meaning operators, but I didn't know we changed our name to Opie. Anyway, almost sounds like something you would smoke, you know what I mean? All right, Mark, I'm sorry, I digressed here. Mark, KK7CKI. Good morning, sir. What's going on?
Comment.
Mark, stand by. KK6TRC.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Ron Howard, Opie. Now, Ron Howard might be a new slang for other persons. So, good morning to all the Ron Howards out there. KK6TRC.
I've been set straight. Thank you, Jeff. Mark, KK7CKI.
Good morning, Tom and the net. I do not have the best connection right now, but I am checking in from Newport Beach. I am doing ham radio. I just got approved with the FCC this week, and I've been listening in and thought I should check in and just say hello to everyone. So if you can hear me out there, hello, have a great day. Thank you for the conversation. I love listening to you guys, and I'll check in later on. Thank you. KK7.
You're awesome, Mark. Thank you for checking in. Was this your first time checking in, Mark?
This is my first time checking in, Tom.
Well, Mark, let me say, welcome to the Net at 9 family. We're glad you could join us here this morning. We've got a lot of first-timers this morning. So, wow, I do appreciate hearing from everybody. By the way, and especially for the first-timers, I want to tell you this. We have a great group of net control operators. I'm not the only one. I am responsible for the program, but the success of the program actually starts with all of you who are operators. It's not net control. And, it's important that net control kind of back out and let you handle the conversation. We just kind of help direct it. But it's the various personalities and different approaches from the various individuals that take on the task of volunteering as net control. My hat's off to them. And so I do appreciate, Mark, hearing from you as well as others here on the first time. Hopefully you come back. But there's going to be a Christmas, an opportunity to eyeball each other this coming Saturday at Bolsa Chica Park, 8 to 10 a.m. Bolsa Chica Park. If you guys can, and gals, can be there, we'd love to be able to meet you. Okay, let's move on. We've got Brother Jim here, KB6TKA, sitting beside me here and kind of, managing things. Jim, how goes it?
KB6TK, good morning, Tom and Annette. Yeah, I'm sitting here and pointing and giggling, and we're having a lot of fun, as I always do on Wednesday when I come over here. So it's a long drive. I have to get up about 4 in the morning and pack a lunch to get over to Tom's house, but safely. I mean, thank goodness I hadn't any fog this morning, and I was able to really whip it over here. So I haven't got much else to say because I didn't do anything yesterday to speak of. So I'll give it back to Annette. KB6TK.
All right, first let me say, Jim, this is Tom, W6CTC as net control. You're full of puppy dust. He's a couple of 2-3 streets away, so he had to, he could skip over. Maybe he has. Anyway, this is Net at 9, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net on the Catalina Amateur Repeaters Association's group of repeaters. We're being transmitted over the 2-meter and 1.25-meter repeaters. I've got Jeff and then David coming up. K6 KPW. Jeff, good morning. What's going on? K6 KPW. Jeff?
Hi, good morning, Tom and the net. This is Jeff, K6JPW, Juliet Papa Whiskey in Hermosa Beach. First time check-in on the net. Glad to be here. It's the first time being able to reach this repeater, not being on an HT, working on a new radio setup here. Had a very wise Aries member tell me that if your radio is not portable, then it's expendable. So I've got a gator case here with my early ICOM 5100 Christmas present and a Bio-NO 30 amp hour battery and solar charge controller. So just kind of testing it out here for the first time, and seems to be working really well. Back to the net, K6JPW.
Awesome. Jeff, welcome to Net at 9. I'm glad you're here this morning. I corrected your call sign, K6JPW. And you're doing a mighty fine job at hitting us, so thank you, and hopefully you'll stick around for second round. Boy, I'm blessed this morning with 4 new first-timers. That's great. David, KK6M. Good morning, sir. How goes it?
Well, good morning to you, Tom, and the rest of the net. This is David, KK6M. And whatever Milt does, I want to do too. That's just the way it works. I think QSLing and, that kind of stuff is a great topic. I'd like to talk more about it, but if you've got something better, go for it. Everything's great here. I have to second all the comments about the wonderful day. I'm gonna roast up some lamb ribs this afternoon and do some antenna work. Have a friend coming over, so we're gonna climb up and find out what happened to my choke balun. I think there's a short in it on my 80-meter loop. I'm getting a 10-to-1 SWR on it all of a sudden, and that sounds like a dead short somewhere. So got to figure out what's wrong with that, and then maybe put up my 0-10 80 to 10-meter vertical. I had taken it down, so I may just put that one back up again. Anyway, so a little antenna maintenance for this afternoon. Looking forward to the rain. Joke. Back to you, Tom, KK6M.
Hi, David. Hey, appreciate that. All right, well, David suggests conversation about QSL cards, and I think that's a great idea. So let's continue on before I continue to open my big mouth. Let's see if we have any other operators that would like to check in to Net at 9, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. For identification, your net control operator is Tom. Good morning. W6ETC, Whiskey 6 Echo Tango Charlie. This is now time to check in to Net at 9, call sign, first name.
This is Kilo 6 Echo Uniform Hotel, Rick, mobile and on the side.
KN6QDV. This is Don, and I'm mobile, also on the side.
Got it, Rick, and got it, Don, KK6EUH and KN6QDV. If anybody that's on the side or that is listening that would like to comment later, all you got to do is come in with your call sign when it's the courteous thing to do during a break. So thank you for checking in. Great to hear from both Rick and Don this morning. All right, so we might as well begin the second round. Oh, before I begin the second round, do we have any additional comments from our operators who've already checked in or those pending check-in? Please identify with your call sign.
KE6KZR.
Jerry, KE6KZR, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for recognizing me. I had a question, wondering how many shoplifting days left until Christmas.
Well, I'm going to give that information out when I close the net this morning. So I think that's an excellent question. That is very much a concern. I also heard something about the Amazon cloud. I never heard of that before. Having issues. I can't imagine if there were issues ordering from Amazon. Can you? Or HRO. Is there an HRO cloud? I don't know. I know Charlie Brown. Did Charlie Brown? Or was it? Who was it that had a cloud following them all the time on the Charlie Brown thing? I said, Linus, was it? No, I don't know. Okay, I'm looking at Jim, and Jim's got that question mark on his forehead like he normally does. So I appreciate that. Anyway, let's move on to the top here this morning. QSL cards. Let's see. Do you use QSL cards? Do you think it's still QSL cards are for today? Are they always paper? What options we might have? I would dare say, David, KK6M, I'm going to start with you. Even though you just checked in a little bit ago, you recommended that we do the conversation. Do you have any thoughts on how we might want to open this conversation regarding QSL cards? David, KK6M.
Okay, well, if you have a topic that is more universal to UHF, VHF users, I would suggest going with that as well. QSL is a way to confirm your contact and to complete the QSO. So no real contact on HF radio is complete without confirming it, either with a short note via email, text, or sending a QSL card or using electronic media, either EQSL, Logbook of the World, or the QRZ has a log that you can confirm things in, or Club Log. All those methods are ways to confirm the contact, and it's the final courtesy. I'll just say that. It's the final courtesy of the QSO. So I don't recommend it for repeater contacts. That doesn't really warrant a QSL card, but certainly I have in-person eyeball cards. They're like a little business card, and it's like a representation of my QSL card, and I hand that out when I'm at an event. But other than that, I don't know if a lot of people are going to want to get into that. Anyway, Tom, I would suggest that you bring up your topic as well. This is David, KK6M.
I appreciate that, David. And eyeball cards, that's another aspect. It's kind of like a mini QSL card. And what David was talking about, basically, a QSL card is the written confirmation between two amateur radio operators about having a two-way radio communication. And it's a good way to acknowledge that. And the QSL card, I think, derives its name from the Q code, QSL. David also mentioned QSO, which basically means contact. For those who are new to ham, that's what we're talking about. In the past, it basically was a printed postcard that we'd send by snail mail. But in today's time, QSL cards or contact acknowledgments are happening just like David mentioned. By text, by email, by various other means, not just the printed media. Although a lot of us like that. Now, David, you've got a cool QSL card. Some of you have sent me theirs. I recently got one after doing a POTA. Did 35 contacts, and I got one QSL card. I was surprised and pleased to see. So if you want more information about that, check it out on the internet. There's a lot of good information about that, and printers who still make that available for amateur radio operators. If you care to comment about it, when I get through to the second round, I'll give you an opportunity to do so. It's your choice. So I'll let you know what I have in terms of an additional topic here this morning for second round. Stand by. Let me ID. This is Tom, Whiskey 6 Echo Tango Charlie. You're listening to Net at 9 Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. There was a note from an amateur radio operator stating that, quote, that what he said is, did my first TX yesterday on the morning. In other words, he did first transmission. He said, New Ham, first time he transmitted was yesterday morning. Quote, I did so again today, and they tell me they can hardly hear me. I'm using a Yaesu FT70D. Is inability to hear me on an HT a setting issue, or is it likely a topographic issue? I kinda live in a bowl. Normally I hear everybody else fantastically. I didn't know that's a word. So it's not an RX issue. I'm speaking somewhat close to the mic, or mic, M-I-K, but it didn't help. Can you help? Why can't others hear me? Dang it. So, he's saying he hears others, but others barely, if at all, hear him. What would be your thoughts on this? Do you have a suggestion of why he's not hearing others? I'd like an opportunity to kind of give a thought, one or two, to kind of maybe fuel the conversation. Whether you agree or disagree, it's up to you. So stand by. Trouble with your TX. Sounds like a medical issue, right? All right, so first I would check the mic level gain, the mic gain. At times when it comes to a radio, a default setting might be set low. So if your rig has ability to adjust the mic gain, check that out. Next, make sure you speak across the mic. Yep, something as simple as that can make a world of difference. Consider your position relative to the radio. Consider if you're speaking across the mic, in front of the mic, off in a distance, to the side. Sometimes I speak to the back of the mic. That doesn't work too good. When you speak across the mic, you want the sound of your voice, hopefully this is going to make sense, sound of your voice to hit it, but not your breath. You don't want to be popping the mic, with your breath. That would cause distortions. So do you agree with these recommendations? What advice would you give to this OP? Okay? And feel free to comment on QSL cards. Before I begin second round, it's a great opportunity for late check-ins or other hams waiting to check in. Do so now. Call sign first name. KB6 OVO, John, what's your thought?
Well, good morning again, Tom and the net. KB6OVO here. As far as your query as to why the Kai can't be heard, yeah, it's a good suggestion to make sure that he's right in front of the mic. I've got a boom mic here that if I'm not right in front of, you're not hearing me. I can be next to the mic. If I'm not speaking right into it, it's not happening. But I would have to say it's more likely he needs to check the power that he's running. And with the programming on today's HTs, he might be running low power and not realizing it. So crank up the power. And on the QSL cards, I was very proud of the QSL cards I had back in the day, some 30 years ago, 25 years ago. Had professionally printed up on glossy a butternut antenna, and a picture of my Kenwood TS440S AT. And I'm getting ready to print up some new QSL cards. I'm just going to put a picture of my beautiful mountain house. It's not so relevant anymore what radio you're running, I don't think. But I've been eyeing using Vistaprint. They run some tremendous sales and would print up your QSL cards toot sweet and on the cheap. So there you go for that. QSL cards are important on HF. Certainly. KB60VO back to net.
John, I got to tell you, excellent. I think it's an excellent recommendation. Power, power, power. All right, thanks. Mark, M6 QAP, your thoughts?
M6 QAP, Mark in Grand Terrace. I've been out of ham radio for so long, I don't remember much about those cards. But I was thinking past few weeks about getting some QS cards, reading about how that printers are fewer than they used to be years ago. So I don't have my HF rigs, plural, up yet and running. I got a new rig that's in the curio cabinet upstairs, hasn't seen power. My ICOM 737 is in a box, and I want to send it off and get new crystals for it. I've got a high stability crystal oscillator also to be put in, and ham radio outlet has got a ham for me that'll do that, but I haven't gotten around to it. But so QSL cards, not much experience. Didn't do a lot of HF work back then, but anyway, I think it's a good way to go. And anything that I'm claiming Milt as my Elmer. I mean, he's a great guy. He sent me a nice text yesterday. What kind words, Milt? You're a gem. Anyway, he's saying cards, yes, QSLs, absolutely. So I'm going with that, and I'll throw it back to you, Tom. This is November 6th, Quebec Alpha Papa, over in Grand Terrace, right nestled up to San Bernardino, Colton, and Loma Linda. Back to you.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that insight. And yeah, Milt's a great individual. He encourages a lot of people. And it's a privilege also to have Milt as a net control operator here on Monday morning. So check it out. If you want to get the insight of someone who's been an operator for over 54 years, net at 9 Monday mornings. And whenever else I can twist his arm behind him and, hey, Milt, take it over. Doug, so speaking of also someone who's done net control is Doug, 84AL. Hey, Doug, how's it going? What's your thoughts on this morning's question regarding this operators or OP problem with TX and QSL cards?
Okay, Tom, this is Doug, 84AL. Hope I'm still making it in okay on my 10 watts here. As far as the transmit problems, I don't know. It could be a number of things. Everything from antenna to coax to, transmitter power. I don't know. You have to look at each one of those things and evaluate what might be going on. But as far as QSL cards, yes, of course I've used QSL cards in the past when working HF and exchanged many of them back in the day from the late 70s up through the 90s. And haven't done much of that. Well, I had a hiatus from the hobby in the 90s up until last year when I started getting back into ham radio. So I haven't used QSL cards since that time, since I don't work HF. But I had an interesting contact this past July, I believe it was. I'm looking at a QSL card here that I got from an operator in Boston, Massachusetts. And this was on DMR. So, QSL cards can be exchanged not only for HF contacts, but for other modes, such as DMR. And this contact was from KC1KRR, Matt in Boston. And I'll just read the note on the back here. He says, thanks for the quick QSO on Brandmeister 93. That's Talk Group 93. And he says, I'm always on 91, 93, and 3100 when I'm on my Pi-Star hotspot. Hooked to QSO again, 73, Matt. So that was an interesting thing. I didn't realize that people sent QSL cards for DMR contacts, but Matt did, and I guess it's possible. It's always a interesting thing to do. I do not have any QSL cards currently, but I'm thinking of getting some printed up, as I did in the past. So that's my thoughts on that, Tom. Great net, thank you. 84AL, back to net.
Thanks, Doug. Hey, I never thought QSL on DMR. And you said a lot of things here just now. Pi-Star hotspot, the different groups going on with that. Hey, that's a lot of information packed into your conversation, and that's great. Good. Earl, KM6SPY, what's your thought?
KM6SPY. Well, if I heard right, it's an FT70DR handheld, and I can think of some problems. Rubber duckies don't go very far on 5 watts. He might want to hook it up to an external antenna. That's one of my favorite backup radios. It's a very good radio. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles like a lot of the new HTs do. QSL cards. When I used to be a ham before, my call sign was K6HOS, and yes, I did use QSL cards back then, back in the 50s, but I don't use them now. Anyway, KM6SPY, back to net.
Comment 84AL.
Go ahead, Doug.
I was just going to comment on Earl's signal. Typically he has kind of a scratchy signal into the repeater, but man, Earl is just booming into the repeater this morning. I don't know whether he's changed his rig or antenna setup, but wow, it's like you're right next door there, Earl. 84AL, back to net.
I want to agree with that, Doug. Earl, you got a great signal here this morning. A lot of you have a great signal. You are kind of iffy. That reminds me of something that, Doug, you kind of alluded to. This is not meant to be critical, but it is an example. You first started to say, Doug, that you were on 10 watts. By the way, your signal is outstanding. But if you are having a question in your mind, if you're on a net, on a repeater, and you're not sure of your signal, the best thing to do is say, how copy, or at least ask somebody, how are you copying me? Okay, or in the short version, how copy. Get off the mic. Listen for somebody to respond back. If you continue on with a question in your mind, the whole time could be nothing but, I've had it happen here on the net, where all we hear is a protracted amount of static with very little, if any, audio. So be careful when you're doing that. If you're unsure, say how copy, or do you copy me? What's my signal like? Whatever you want to say, get off the mic and wait for a response, and then continue. That's my humble. That wasn't meant to be critical of you, Doug, not at all. But it is meant to be given as an example. Came to mind. You know how I am. I speak my mind. And if you don't want my opinion, don't ask, right? Yeah. Jim's shaking his head, looking at me. Yep. John, AJ6F, what are your thoughts?
AJ6F to W6ETC. Yes, Tom, you're easily distracted. Hi. The handheld. First question is it staticky, or is it a clear signal with underwhelming audio? That's the first leg in the fault tree. If it's staticky, you go down the RF path. If it's underwhelming audio, you go down the mic gain. Is there a problem with the radio, etc., etc.? QSL cards, yep, they're cool. I've got 5 of them so far, and the first one was really a surprise, and an awesome surprise. I was lucky that Milt sent me a template for Excel and created my own, so I've responded to those 5. I don't send them out unless somebody sends me a card, but it's pretty cool. The farthest was New Zealand, and the closest was a half a mile. Yeah, that's right, a half a mile neighbor sent me a QSL card. AJ6F, back to Tom in the net.
Late check-in, NA6B.
Thank you, John, for excellent comments. And Milt, thank you for sending John a template. I might consider robbing that as well. I need to do that as well, especially an eyeball card. NA6B, I heard you as well. Can I get your first name?
Yes, good morning, Nat. Sorry I checked in so late and kind of butted in. NA6B, Mike in Cyprus.
Thank you, Mike in Cyprus. Are you able to stick around a little bit longer? We're kind of going through a list on our second round conversation. Are you able to stick with us?
Yes, no problem. Thanks for asking.
All right, roger that, Mike. By the way, for those who haven't yet talked, if someone is running out of time, we're probably going to be at least another 20 minutes or so. Hopefully you all can stick with us. If someone is short of time, please identify with your call sign. All right, excellent. Great. So here's kind of the thing. I'll be talking to Steve, then Jerry, Morgan. I hope Rex is out there. I didn't hear him on the first round. Then Jeff, followed by Mark maybe. Then Jim. And then another Jeff, PW. David, if he wants to talk anymore, and then Mike. So we'll get through this. AJTL, Steve, what's your thought?
Well, I'll give you a little background to the question. I've been interested in POTA as probably one of the next ham-related activities I want to get involved in. And reading online, they made a reference to QSL cards and a recommendation that if you didn't have QSL cards, to at least make a note of that in your QRZ page, just so that people were aware of that fact. So it got me thinking about QSL cards. I remember growing up, my dad was and still is actually a ham radio operator in 6TD, but he isn't active anymore. He stopped playing radio probably about in the 80s, sold all his equipment. I guess he just got bored with it or whatever. Anyways, I try to get him interested in it again. He doesn't seem to be interested. He's more interested in model steam trains, so that's his thing right now. But anyways, I digress. But I do remember growing up, I'm going to reset my HT, hold on. Anyways, I remember growing up seeing a whole wall of QSL cards on the wall that he had, and I thought it was pretty cool. You could see all the different countries he worked, this and that, but wasn't sure if it was a novelty or not in this day and age with everything being electronic, and so that's the reason why I wanted to ask the question, is just kind of a, do people still use them? Is it still a good idea? And I think I got the answer to that question. I think the answer is yes. That's the short answer. And then on the HT problem, I'm obviously a new ham. I've mentioned that before. All of my problems with radios typically are operator/programming, especially with the HT. The only other thing I haven't heard mentioned is the antenna sometimes can have a fault inside the antenna itself. I've seen some videos where people have tested antennas, and sometimes you end up with ones that are almost like a dummy load. They don't really operate as an antenna. But anyways, that's about it. That's all I got. AJ6TL.
Wow, very intelligent response here, Steve. Remember Doug mentioned that he was it Doug? No, it was Earl, KM6SPY, mentioned about the fact that the HT had a rubber duck antenna. In fact, on most HTs, when you first get them, have a rubber duck antenna. And how well does a rubber duck antenna perform? You alluded to that, Steve, as well. Many time operators will switch the antenna out for something else if their budget is an HT budget. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of operators start with an HT, but you made some very good points just now about looking at other aspects. Wow, I'm blown away. Everybody's got some great ideas. Jerry, KE6KZR, you're up next on this morning's conversation, QSL cards and issues with an operator's TX. What's your thought? KE6KZR, Jerry, do you copy? No copy. Let me ID. This is Tom, Whiskey 6 Echo Tango Charlie for Net at 9, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. Morgan, W9LBC, your thought? W9LBC, Morgan, Tom, Whiskey 6 Echo Tango Charlie. Jeff, KK6TRC, your thought?
This is Jeff, KK6TRC, and I've never used QSL cards, and so that's a bit of a hint that I'm still a technician. I haven't gone into HF yet, so I like tactile things, and I think it would be fun to get into that. So when I get to that stage, I'll probably participate in it. KK6TRC.
Well said, Jeff. And by the way, great net last night. Thank you for a fantastic job. Always enjoy your nets on Tuesday and Thursday evenings here at Net at 9 p.m. Mark, let's see if Mark is still with us. KK7CKI. All right, let's see if this gentleman is still around. KB6TKA Jim on, see you. QSL cards and thoughts on 4TX.
KB6TKA. On QSL card, I got one. When I just passed my novice, and then I was over at a friend of mine's house, and he always did CW, and he says, "Why don't you give me a try? Since it's a little fresh in your mind." So I get out there, I'm not going to go through I forgot everything, but I got one from a gentleman, an old timer, well, probably about my age, what I am now, from Homer, Alaska. The only contact I ever made on CW, and he sent me about a few weeks later, I got a card in the mail, and says, I understand, and I can tell you are, a new CW operator, and was a little slow. But I was able to copy it. And I think I sent, "Hi, how are you?" and then my call sign or something like that. But that's the only one I ever got. So I know when I talk at home, I know I sound a lot better here because I get a raspy voice now and then. But I don't know. And then it goes away sometimes. But I'm going to remedy the situation at home and hope to sound better in the future. I run 20 watts, but I need to get my antenna up a little high. So, KB6TK.
Thank you, Jim. Interesting. Jeff, K6JPW, your thought?
This is Jeff, K6JPW. For the HT low audio, I always upgrade those rubber duck antennas. I really like the signal sticks or the Nagoya retractables, or even using a mag mount antenna, which I like to use the BNC connectors so I can quickly use the quick disconnect feature and switch those antennas between my handheld and the mag mount. Happy to have the clarification on the cards still going out. Haven't made the jump to HF yet. Looking to do that soon. So was wondering if people were still doing it. I'm glad to hear that's still a tradition. K6JPW.
Thanks, Jeff. Good thoughts on this. And I'm glad you clarified. I didn't want to tell you what, I didn't want to answer the question myself. I want everyone else to come up with their own determination in terms of what the conversation is going with. Let's check with David, KK6M, for any further comments. Go ahead, David.
Well, good morning, Tom and the rest of the net. This is David. I will make a suggestion on the HT. I've had that radio. It's a great radio, the Yaesu 70. Now, just as a point of information, any Chinese radio that comes into the country has to be set at narrow, meaning 12 kilohertz. The Japanese radios I don't think fall under that, but I would suggest that if his audio is low, that his transmission is in narrow, not in wide. It's very obvious because the audio level is about 50% of what you would expect from a transmission that's 25 kilohertz wide. So that's the first thing I would check. All the other ideas are great, but I'll bet dollars to donuts it's in narrow. Anyway, back to net. This is David, KK6M.
What you just said was excellent. And by the way, the last thing you said, dollars to donuts, is something that I used to say a while back. It blows me away. That is still said. Cool. Thanks, David. You always have a plethora of information. Thank you, David. And looking forward to continued cooperation. Let's see. Mike, NA6B, what are your thoughts?
Question.
Go ahead, question, if you allow me to. Sorry, net control, NA6B.
Question identify, please.
KK6TRC, just wanted to quick clarify on what David just said. The wide, narrow band on Chinese radios, we want to set those to narrow, is that what you're saying?
No, you set them to wide. There's some history here, Tom. Can I go on?
Continue, David.
Could you explain this?
David, continue. Go ahead.
Okay, so in the past, I don't know how long ago, maybe 20 years ago, that all the radios were in narrow. Narrow back then was 25 kilohertz, and wide was, I don't know, something else. But all the modern radios need to be set, or the UHF, VHF radios need to be set in wide. Wide is 25 kilohertz, and this is what we're using right now. Narrow is 6 kilohertz, and you do not want to be using that. That's a commercial standard, not an amateur radio standard. The FCC is pushing for us to go to 6, but it would work if everyone did it. But currently everyone is in wide, which is 25 kilohertz for FM transmissions. Back to net, KK6M.
Jeff, did you get your question answered, KK6TRC?
Yeah, QSL, and I had my bow thing in hand and checked through the menu, and I do have it in wide. Very good. Thank you. KK6TRC.
That's a great recommendation, David. Thank you, KK6M. For ID, Tom, W6CTC, you're continuing to listen to Net at 9, Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. Mike, okay, you're up next, NA6B.
Hey, thanks, Tom. Good morning, Annette. This is November Alpha 6 Bravo. I used to say $1 to a donut, so it's kind of the same thing, dollars to a donut to donuts. But I used to always say, I still do, $1. I'll bet you $1 to a donut. Anyway, I think that's a Southern thing. I'm not really sure. The HTs when I first became a ham in 1980, I had an HT, and I didn't get to use it till 81, but I had one, and I found that I was speaking across the mic instead of into it. And my friends, my mentors would say, Mike, you need, when it's time, and in 1981 I started speaking into the mic, and they said, you need to do that. So that was just one thing. And I'm so happy to hear somebody say about the bandwidth on FM. That was very pleasing, because I was going to reiterate to the RF path, which yours, Tom, the RF path is full quieting, and your audio is a little low, but you know, there's two things, RF path and the audio quality. Okay, QSL cards. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've always been into QSL cards. I've got stacks and books and all kinds of good things because I just I don't know. Maybe it's an ego thing, like you mentioned, but I also did EQSL. I don't know if anybody's mentioned that or not, but EQSL is through the internet, and I had a bunch of them, and as I'd get them, I'd print them out. So I'd turn those EQSLs into QSL cards. And I think that's EQSL.net or .com, I'm not sure. Anyway, that's it. Thanks a lot, Net. Back to Net Control. This is NA6B.
Mike, I'm glad you brought that up because David mentioned Logbook of the World, or LOTW, as an exchange. EQSL, right, seems to be grabbing an increased share of contact confirmations due to its lower cost. It's not free, but it is a very low cost. Neither are QSL cards, for that matter. But you know, some OPs prefer a printed aspect of it. If you are one of those, you know, maybe you ought to have that. And I think there's another aspect, not only in QSL postcards, but is you know, eyeball cards. That's something else that David mentioned, and that is becoming more prevalent out there, at least. Then there's the design aspect of your QSL card. You know, some might want to put their picture of their mug on a QSL card. I don't recommend that. For me, I would probably scare away a lot of people. I know Jim definitely would. They would run in horror. You know, I know. You have no feelings, Jim. And in case you're wondering, I'm just razzing Jim here, sitting next to me, kind of keeping an eye on, making sure I'm doing things right. Hi. But yeah, great comments here this morning. I better quit talking. Check to see if there's any other operator that for a late check-in or for late comments. Please identify, call sign, first name.
Additional comment, NA6B, Mike.
K6RMR in Huntington Beach on the 220 side.
N6MG. California.
KM6MMO, late check-in from El Mirage.
Okay, I have a couple late check-ins, K6RMR and KM6MMO. I also heard additional comment from Mike, NA6B, as well as comment from N6MG. Do I have other late check-ins or other operators wishing to give comment? Please ID.
KN6, RVN, Jose, Long Beach City.
N6MG, can we pick up RMR before we lose the link?
Roger that. I want to go ahead and get Mike's further comment. We still have about 9 minutes left on the link. NA6B, Mike, go ahead.
Just real quick, I won't take up too much time. I wanted to allude on the EQSL cards. Yes, I printed those out. I love to have prints. Also, I have several different types of QSL cards that I send out, and one in particular is when I visit Mexico or South Baja, actually Baja Sur, with my Mexico call sign. They're the extension of it. All right, thanks a lot. That's it, NA6B.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that insight. Stan, K6RMR, welcome to the net this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Anyway, K6RMR. I like the old-fashioned QSL cards. My QSL card is a picture of my Collins KWM2 on the front of it. And I have my dad's QSL cards as well as mine hanging up on the wall. One of them happens to be from General Curtis LeMay, K0GRL, who used his Collins A-line, the Gold Dust Twins, aboard a B-52 to prove to the Air Force that single sideband was the way to go. So back to net control, K6 Armor.
Wow, Stan, sounds like an awesome collection there. Appreciate hearing from you. Thanks, Stan, for checking in. And 6MG for their comment.
Yeah, QS, great. You know, it is, as David mentioned, the final thank you for a QSO. Back in the day, if you heard somebody's wife was sick, you'd send them a card with a note on the back, you know, just to get well thing. You know, back, you know, we can't relive those days. There's just too many of us now. But nonetheless, that's it on the cards. On the gentleman with the handy-talkie, I don't think we got enough information to diagnose what's wrong with it. It could be anything from a coal solder joint at the factory to talking into the back of the microphone. I mean, it's, why can't I hit the repeater, you know? That's big subject. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. See y'all later in 6MG.
Roger, Roger, Milt. Thank you. Appreciate that. KM6MMO. Can I get a name, please?
Yeah, name here is Eric, Echo Romeo Indigo Kilo, transmitting from Pinion Hills, KM6MMO, check-in only. Thanks for picking me up. Back to net control.
Hi, Eric, and welcome to the net this morning. Is this your first time checking in?
Oh no, I try and reach out. For some reason it seems like the band is open this morning or the noise floor is low or whatnot, so seem to be making the trip. Thanks for picking me up. KM6MMO.
Roger that. I'm curious if you do have the ability or the time. We've talked about QSL cards. Are they still being used today? As well as maybe TX issues on an HT. Would you care to comment?
Yeah, gladly. One of the projects I got into with QSL cards was actually made a QSL card and then sent it to myself SSTV. I think it was a plate of cookies I had made, chocolate chip actually, and the text read, cookies enabled, KM6MMO.
See, when you said cookies, my friend here, Jim, KB6TKA, kind of like woke up from his sleep and said, cookies? Yeah. All right, Eric, all kidding aside, thanks. Appreciate hearing from you. And good insight. Jose, KN6, is it RVN? Do I have that correct?
This is KN6RVN. That is correct.
What is your comments on this morning's conversation? Do you need any clarity?
Well, since I'm kind of really new to this whole ham radio operations and stuff, I would actually be interested in receiving a QSL, you know, when I get the chance to make a contact with someone and, you know, see how those are. But from what I know from my school's club, they look really nice, and from what I've heard from them, none of them have really received any QSL cards lately. This is KN6RVN, back to net.
Well, maybe we might be able to work something out to help change that. Compare notes, find out when they're on the air, what they're doing. Sometimes you have to request them if all possible, make that known. But certainly we'll see what we can do. We have a lot of HF operators here. Many have QSL cards that would be happy to acknowledge the QSL. So I'm going to be giving my email address at the end. Also, there are some operators here. I don't have it, but I know David and Milt have been on this, and maybe a handful of others that are listening this morning have QSL cards. Maybe we can work out something to where we know we're on the air and make the contact and respond accordingly. Very good, Jose. Appreciate that. Do we have any other operator would like to confirm a late check-in? We're going to lose our link in about 3 minutes or less. This is Tom, Whiskey 6 Echo Tango Charlie Net at 9 Amateur Radio Wellness and Support Net. Do so now with your call sign first name.
AJ6TL with a comment.
I heard comment from AJ6CL standby, and there sound like there was a doubling going on. Do we have another operator either with comment or check in? Go ahead.
Yeah, comment AD4AL.
Okay, we'll go with AJ6TL first, since I heard that first, and then AD4AL. AJ6TL, go ahead.
So two things. One, just an observation. In the short few months I've been on this net, I've noticed, every time after it rains, it seems we get really good propagation from the stations that, on average tend to be a little scratchy. And I have no way of measuring tropospheric conditions, but one of the thoughts I had is whether or not having a wet ground kind of helps with the scattering of the RF out to the repeater. Maybe that helps with propagation. So anyway, something to keep in mind for the future after a rainy day, just to see how well that correlates with propagation. The other thing is on the narrowband subject, one of the things I did on my radio, and I don't know if it's necessary or not, but it's what I did. I programmed all my simplex channels for the various nearby states, Arizona, Nevada. Of course, I live in Southern California. But I tried to do it in such a way where it didn't have any conflicts regarding the band plans. And with a lot of the separations being narrow on some of the lower frequencies, and then also Arizona having a 20 kilohertz spacing, I just set my radio to narrowband just to kind of be a little safe. So I'm not sure if that's really necessary, but it's what I did. AJ6TL.
I'll make it open for comments here a little bit, but speaking of comments, let's go ahead with Doug, AD4AL.
Okay, Tom, thanks. I was wondering about something. I'm wondering if the CARA board would consider extending the time that the 2 meter and 1.25 meters are linked until 11 o'clock. Because it seems like many times we're going right up against that 1030 line where we lose the 220 link. So maybe they'll consider giving us an extra half hour and making it all the way to 11 o'clock. That way we won't be pressured as far as, losing the link and things like that. My other comment was what David mentioned earlier about the wideband and narrowband FM. It's an interesting thing because I always thought that the wideband was 25 kilohertz and the narrowband was 12.5 kilohertz. Half of that. But I was looking in my TYT manual here for my HD, which is the UV8000E, and it says modulation modes are 16K F3E and 11K F3E. So that doesn't sound like standard, it doesn't sound like the standard of 25K and 11.5 or 12.5K. So I'm wondering, that might be a topic for further discussion. What exactly are we modulating when we're talking on FM? What's our bandwidth? Some radios might have different bandwidths. Like mine, my HT is 16K and 11K. So that's a little bit different than I thought it was. Just looking in my specs here on the HT. Anyway, that's about all for me, Tom. Thanks for the net and 7-3. AD4AL.
That very well could be a topic for another time. I do see some conversation online, changing bandwidth from 12.5 to 25 kilohertz. Interesting. I don't know why it would be different, but I would trust David's concept and his expertise. KK6M has more, he's old, has many more years experience in this than I do. So I appreciate that. Listen, I better wrap this up here, and you're right. When we first started this net, Doug, we had 1 hour, and we kept bumping up against that, so I thought, hour and a half, I'll never use that. That'll never happen. Lo and behold, recently I've seen an increase in operators checking into the net. That's a blessing and a half. And, it just means a little more dedication of handling it and less conversation from net control. Hi. So let me wrap it up here this morning. Do we have any late comments or late check-ins, please, ID?